Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to ARIRANG News Break on this Friday, May 13th. I'm Han-daeun in Seoul. Korea's central bank has held its key rate steady at 1.5% for an 11th consecutive month. The decision comes amid mounting financial market stress as the government's corporate restructuring drive picks up ahead of steam. Shin Se-min starts us off.
The Bank of Korea kept its key rate unchanged at a record low of 1.5% for the 11th straight month in May. The central bank appears to be leaving its options open after a board reshuffle late last month. Gloomy export figures and slowing domestic demand also pressured the Bank of Korea to leave its key rate as is. Korea's outbound shipments have been on a downward streak, falling over 11% in April from a year earlier and continuing their more than a year-long downslide. Even so, consumer and business sentiment showed signs of rebounding in the past month, although market watchers say the second quarter figures should be closely monitored. Given all of that, the central bank appears to have decided to continue its wait-and-see approach. Central Bank Governor Lee Ju-yeol is still under pressure to take action on monetary and fiscal policy to facilitate a government-led corporate restructuring scheme. However, there are still lingering market expectations for an additional rate cut given the slowing economy and uncertainties about the government restructuring plan. Shin Se-min, ARIRANG News.
Korea's high-level officials gathered related to information and communication technology gathered this morning to shore up the country's ICT sector. The meeting comes a day after President Park Geun-hye chaired a strategic meeting for science and technology. Science Ministry correspondent Kim Ji-yeon reports.
During Friday's meeting led by Prime Minister Hwang Kyo-ahn, 6 items, including the so-called K-ICT Strategy 2016 agenda, were considered and voted on. Under the strategy, the country plans to strengthen the links between 9 existing strategic projects seen as essential to the 4th Industrial Revolution.
Korea's technology and infrastructure related to the 4th Industrial Revolution are still in their infant stages. The growth of new products and services in the field is limited, mainly due to regulatory barriers. In response, the government will establish strategic plans surrounding ICT to respond promptly to global changes.
The officials at the meeting also revised Korea's previous ICT strategy to include artificial intelligence and virtual reality technology. By 2019, the country aims to apply deep machine learning technology to systems for countering cyber terror threats. And by 2020, the technology will be used for smart systems for medical research. The government also has detailed plans to acquire smart software, including the linguistically smart exobrain and the visually intelligent Deep View, by 2018 in time for the Pyeongchang Olympics, which is seen as an opportunity to promote Korea's advanced ICT exports. By 2020, the country aims to increase Korea's ICT export volume to $210 billion from $126.4 billion last year. Kim Ji-yeon, ARIRANG News.
The leaders of South Korea and Mongolia will hold summit talks in Seoul next Thursday. The presidential office of Cheongwade says President Park Geun-hye will sit down with Mongolian President Sakyajin Elbegdorj during his 3-day visit to Korea. The two leaders will discuss ways to enhance economic cooperation, expand ODA, or official development assistance, and people-to-people exchanges. Seoul and Ulaanbaatar established diplomatic ties in 1990. Around 30,000 Mongolians currently reside in Korea. Russia's foreign ministry has called on South Korea, the United States, and North Korea to refrain from military activity to avoid aggravating tensions on the Korean peninsula. The remark comes amid a delay in the UN Security Council's adoption of a media statement responding to North Korea's firing of a mid-range ballistic missile last month. In an interview with Seoul-based Yonhap News Agency, Russia's foreign ministry spokesman called for all the relevant countries to follow the path to a political and diplomatic resolution while acknowledging that it endorses the UN sanctions on North Korea. This seems to support claims the press statement's delay was primarily prompted by Moscow's demand that it include calls for restraint in military activity by related nations. Battling a recession, corruption, mass protests, and the Zika virus, the last thing Brazil needed was a political crisis, but its president has now been kicked out of office to face an impeachment trial. It leaves the new government facing accusations of a coup just a few months before hosting the Olympic Games. Park Jong-hong reports.
The impeachment process against the disgraced Brazilian leader is now in full swing. In the 81-member Senate, 55 voted to put President Dilma Rousseff on trial for allegedly manipulating finances to disguise a ballooning public deficit in the run-up to her re-election in 2014. This move has immediately suspended the authority of Brazil's first female president, and with the way things are going, observers say it looks likely to put an end to more than 13 years of rule by the left-wing Workers' Party. From now on, a special committee will have in-depth meetings and debates and put the matter to a plenary vote. When 2/3 vote in favor, the impeachment will become final. Although the process can last up to 180 days, the Senate says it will try to wrap it up by September. Observers say things couldn't be any worse for the country preparing to host the Rio Olympics in August, especially with the Zika virus still a cause of concern. Rousseff has promised to fight her impeachment by all legal means, saying it was a, quote, coup and a farce, denying she had committed any crimes. Vice President Michel Temer is now the acting head of state and has already named a cabinet. Park Jong-hong, ARIRANG News.
And that does it for now. Thank you for watching. Stick around to check out more of the day's domestic and global headlines coming up at 6 p.m. Korea time.